We can just go right
Yeah.
into it?
No, we need to have some sort of
Banter.
we got some
We have banter.
brotherly banter.
I have 2 minutes of audio to work with.
You know what? I'm just gonna come right out and say it.
Uh,
I'm not a fan of scary movies.
Oh, right, that's it. Hey, we're a podcast without a name. No, we are the Broadcast Brothers. I'm Andrew.
I am Josh.
And I am Matthew.
And believe it or not, Matthew is a permanent member of our show.
Yeah, I had some friends saying that I wasn't a permanent member of the show. Like, what the heck?
Yeah, Matthew is not a guest star. He is a resident of our podcast.
Thank you for bringing that up, Andrew.
It is
Thank you.
Broadcast Brothers. So
Well, 2 is also
Oh, no,
plural,
but the
Andrew.
Twitter and Instagram
and the email. All right. Oh, but the first 2 episodes we put out, we did not mention our email address
That's
or our
true.
That
Twitter,
is
so
true.
I can understand the confusion there.
Okay.
Anyway,
There are 3 of us, though.
let it be known. So today we are going to be talking about scary movies. Because,
Halloween.
Yeah, this
Ooh.
is our Halloween themed episode.
No. I don't want to talk about Halloween. That is N spoopy N plus 2 me.
Algebra.
Hilarious. Yeah, no, we're very excited. We love Halloween. Mostly
do?
for mostly for the candy.
For
Yeah.
Chikorita.
For Chikorita.
For trick or treating.
Yeah.
But we recently, I don't know about you guys, but I've recently been getting more into scary movies. I used to hate them. I used to be terrified of them.
Yeah, I still have hard times with it sometimes because I way more freaked out by them than most.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
Not when I'm watching them, but when it's at night, I'm
Afterwards,
like,
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's definitely
Andrew, what
that
did you
guy
do
in the corner of my
for
room.
the next month after seeing Insidious for the first time?
I don't remember, but I'm
He slept
sure.
with his he slept
My
at least
lights
with
on.
his TV on, but I'm pretty sure with the lights on.
Yeah.
For like the first week.
Yeah, and I will still like sleep with just YouTube playing on in the
Yeah,
background
yeah,
for like
I
a
agree.
month after I see a horror movie.
Yeah.
But
Well,
anyway.
for me, I just find that a lot of times horror movies will fall into the same sort of cliches or like pitfalls that I find annoying.
Yeah.
But if you do a really good horror movie, that can be a really good movie.
Right.
I
As a
agree.
whole. Not just for the genre, but for movies.
Right.
Mhm.
And I know that I've got a couple of examples that we'll be talking about, but
So you were probably the horror movie expert here.
I mean, I wouldn't say expert, but
I've seen a decent amount of the past
yeah,
year
but
also.
Josh had like horror movie or scary movie Sundays.
I did. I had Scary Movie Sundays
Oh,
at
that's
my
cool.
school, so
That's cool.
we watched a couple.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I do actually now appreciate those movies more than I used to.
Right.
Definitely.
So I kind of want to start off by saying we all over the past week watched.
The Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, I know it's not technically a horror movie, but I think that it
Suspense
does.
horror,
It
Thriller
does.
horror.
thriller horror. Okay.
Suspense
It does
movie.
creepiness and horror way better
Spoopiness.
than
Spookiness. Oh, it is. Spooky.
way better than a lot of straight out horror movies that use the horror genre.
Yeah, I completely agree. This is the first time I had seen it this past week, and it blew me away. There were
Yeah, it was
scenes where
really,
I
really
like
good.
thought about it after the movie ended, and I was just like, oh my God. And there were scenes during the movie where I was like biting my nails, like, oh my God, what's gonna happen next? What's
Yeah,
going
yeah.
on?
Yeah.
Oh.
And so I know that in particular, Josh, are huge on cinematography. So there were a couple things that I noticed in that movie that I thought you were going to geek out about. One of which in particular is how they make something seem very creepy and claustrophobic by having extreme close-ups whenever there's a conversation going between two people.
Yes.
Like
That
the
is
frame,
so true.
the frame sometimes won't even fit the entire head
Mhm,
on screen.
mhm.
You'll just see like from the middle of the chin to like the top of the eyes.
Yes. Yeah, the actor who plays Hannibal Lecter,
I don't know.
Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah,
Yes.
there it is.
Okay, Anthony Hopkins. There's I think it's like the first time that you meet him. There's two things I like. First of all, I like what you were saying. Every time they like do a close up of him in the conversation, you don't even get to see his hairline. Like,
Right.
It is his forehead,
Which is
basically.
also pretty creepy.
Yeah, that's creepy.
His
Um,
hairline, I mean.
and then,
Never
yeah.
mind. That was a bad joke. Sorry, everybody. And
I
sorry,
love it.
Anthony Hopkins. Friend of the show.
Yeah.
Personal friend.
Personal friend of ours, Anthony Hopkins. No, but another thing is when you first meet him and the camera pans over and he's just staring at you
Oh my
with
gosh.
this blank expression.
Yeah.
It goes. First of all, he lives in kind of like this basement dungeon of this,
Lives like it's his home.
Like, well,
He is confined to his prison
he chose this
cell.
nice spacious apartment in the deep depths of
No, he is a cannibal. He is in prison.
No, it's really cool though, because the way you first are introduced to him is you see these crazy people in these different cells, and then they're all yelling at the camera and yelling at the woman who's walking through, and then it finally gets to him, and he's not saying anything. He's just staring.
Yeah.
And it is creepy.
It kind of makes you even more nervous than the people who are like shouting. Like
That's
those
interesting.
people are like
Exactly.
getting up close and they're like shaking the bars like any other, like if a normal person walks into a police station or a jail. I mean, like that's something that happens a lot in movies. They're
Mhm.
all screaming and like banging and stuff, but he's just standing there and he's calm, but his face is just so menacing.
Yeah.
And that even that puts me more on edge than the people who are jumping out at you like, oh my God, you're gonna die.
Yeah, totally.
It's things like that that I think that make this even creepier than jump scares or something
Right.
like that. Because the jump scare, yeah, it gets your heart racing for 30 seconds. This makes you think. It's like, oh my God, he is in jail. He has eaten many people, and he is just extremely calm. His face is just extremely menacing to the point of just like,
Right.
hard to watch.
Yeah, come to think of it, I don't think there were many at all jump scares in the movie.
Yeah, I was trying to think about it. Not that many jump scares. Like there were times where like the music kind of did that like hoarse
Swelled.
screeching and swells, and then it,
Mhm.
like when they were trying to find Buffalo Bill, and
Mhm.
the police were going up to the one door where they thought he was living, and it turned out that the female detective actually had it right, and she found him. That was cool.
Yeah, actually, now that we should probably talk about Buffalo Bill because there's
He is
pretty much
creepy.
there's two antagonists in this
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Definitely.
movie, pretty much, and it's really cool how they did the team up between the one antagonist, between Hannibal Lecter and the main character to catch the other one.
Yeah.
And
But Hannibal Lecter was actually after like freedom the whole time. And
right,
it's so
exactly.
cool.
Yeah.
There's this really awesome mind game mechanic that also adds to this fear or unsettlingness
Mhm,
that
definitely.
is apparent all throughout the movie.
Yeah. And another thing with the whole jump scare versus suspense thing is even when she goes to Buffalo Bill's place, it's not this jump scare after jump scare thing with
Oh,
him.
yeah.
Like the whole ending scene basically is her walking through his elaborate basement, not knowing where he is. And I feel like a lot of other movies would have just done jump scares. She
Oh,
opens
there's
the
a
door
cat.
and exactly, a cat jumps down and like scares her.
That is a great point. I think that they did that in Insidious, didn't
Yeah,
they?
they probably
Where
did.
they were like up in the attic and then a cat jumps out and they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god." And it's like,
Yeah,
Come on.
exactly. And it's like, well, that's it. Like that's such a cliche.
yeah, that it's almost funny how done it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like I feel like some horror movies may use that as a joke now. It's like,
Yeah. Well, no, you know that that's a joke because in comedy horror, it's used all the time.
Uh-huh.
Right.
And in comedies making fun of horror, which is
Mhm.
different than comedy horror.
Right.
Much to my surprise, it is a different genre. Anyway,
Yeah,
what I was going to say was even in this movie, when she's looking for Buffalo Bill and he's hidden, they don't do jump scares. They tell you where he is when he puts on the goggles.
Right.
And they don't try to scare you with where he is. They just scare you with the fact that he is within touching distance.
Oh
he
my
literally
gosh,
gets to
that
the
was
point
so
of like
creepy.
contact
Mhm.
and then just pulls himself back. You feel this extreme like suspense. At any moment he could touch her, and also just you can feel what he's thinking. Like he wants to touch her, but he's holding himself back. Like he's restraining himself from just like grabbing her.
Speaking of which, his drive was actually like really creepy, and how he gave people lotions and stuff and then stopped feeding them and then took their skin to make a suit.
Yeah,
That was so like
very well executed premise, because the idea is really cool not cool, but the
it was so cool, you know.
I admire this man.
Yeah. Buffalo Bill, man. I have pictures of him on my walls.
One day we'll all have closets filled with skin suits. Oh, it'll be nice.
He was a visionary. No, but it's a really good idea for horror to make a suit out of people's skin, but they really take it to the level of detail, and it makes me question the sanity of the writers almost.
Yeah.
That they're like, okay, if we want a skin suit, what do we need? We need to make them lose a bunch of weight so that the skin is loose, and we need the skin to be soft so that it's desirable.
So
And-
lotion, of course.
Right, exactly. And he needs to be really skinny so that he can fit into it. And they just put so much detail into the logistics of making a skin suit. And
even the way they cut the skin suit. They
yeah.
like describe how he cuts the skin off of the people in order to make the skin suit. And I think at some point they show you like pieces of it, and it's gross.
Yeah.
And like him sewing and stuff. It's like,
yeah, it was
things that I don't want to have to think about.
Yeah.
They just shove it down my throat. It's awesome.
It was very well done.
Another thing that was well done, creepy but not shoved down your throat, is the way he kidnapped the girl towards the beginning of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
And that was probably really scary around the time that this movie was made, because it was just a guy and he was like, hey, can you help me put this couch into this van? And the woman was like, yeah, sure. I mean, there's no problem. I can put the couch in your van. And then he's like, yeah, could you get up and move all the way to the back, please? Move all the way to the back. He shoves the couch in front of her, closes the doors, and then just drives away. And that was creepy. And I imagine, like, I would never want to be on the streets again. after seeing that.
And like that, again, like if I was somebody on the street, granted now I don't think like that either, but especially back then, people weren't going around like somebody's going to kidnap me at every turn. And after seeing something like that, I would be terrified to just leave my house.
That's kind of like with Jaws, because everyone was scared to go in the water after Jaws came out. And so like that did, I guess, a really, really good job.
Another thing I wanted to go back to, because we got a little strayed from it, was another thing with the cinematography that I just think really made the whole suspense and the horror aspect come to life, I guess, or come to fruition, was the lighting. The lighting in some of those scenes had perfect shade, and like it was dark and then it went to light. Even in the last scene with the gunshots, it was complete black.
Oh, yeah. The gunshots.
Then the one gunshot goes off, and then you see something for a second.
Right.
And then a second one goes off. You see something for a second, and then another. And then finally, the last gunshot breaks the window.
Right.
So then you see like one stream of light coming in, and it's like terrifying.
Yeah, I think I'm going to need to rewatch the movie
ending.
in terms of lighting, because I didn't really connect as well with that. But
Also in the scene when she is talking to Hannibal Lecter, and the entire room is dark because I guess there's lights out or something. So there was no lights in his room, and it was just her talking to a black wall.
That's cool,
basically, which was really cool. And then there were a couple times when the lighting got dark and it was just bright red. For instance, when she was going into the jail cell, or when he has his cage set up in the town hall, I guess is what that thing was, or like the courthouse or something like that. And it shows that you can make these intense scenes just by the lighting.
Right. I do want to switch gears a little bit and talk about other movies. So,
I was going to say, like, another movie, or what Silence of the Lambs did so well was like this subtle type of horror esque stuff that was like really got you on the edge of your seat. And another movie that really did that well was The Shining.
Mm.
I thought really, really did that
Yeah.
well.
Definitely.
I'm glad that we're bringing up Stephen King because I have a lot of opinions about him.
Yeah. Well, I think this one especially is just like you see this man's slow descent into madness, and it's like that alone is just terrifying. And then the fact that he then tries to just murder his entire family is like, oh my god! And it happens so subtly, you don't actually like think that it's gonna happen until it happens, and he's chasing his wife with an axe.
Yeah.
So.
Another pretty good like suspense horror movie that I've seen recently was The Babadook.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
we
but
have-
I'm not gonna reveal too much.
I saw like the first 30 minutes at a friend's house, and it was
Yeah,
good.
you have to keep watching because it's one of those movies that messes you up and makes you question your sanity. And that one is definitely one of the movies where I was watching YouTube every night because I didn't want to be alone with my thoughts.
Yeah.
I think that the thing that makes all of these, Stephen King in particular, really cool, and I think an aspect of horror that too many people gloss over, is the unsettlingness and the fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
And Stephen King really taps into that well. It's almost like that the one writer who did Cthulhu.
Oh, H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah, Lovecraftian horror is all about weird, unknown stuff that humans can't even imagine. And Stephen King does it so well with it being a movie all about an entity that takes the shape of your worst fear.
Yeah.
And so it reflects your fear, and that just freaks everyone out because when you go home, you're like, this thing could take the form of anything.
Anything, exactly.
And The Mist, which is
yeah.
you're fearing, you don't even know
can't
what
even
you're
see it.
fearing. Exactly.
Yeah.
You just know that something creepy is going on, and you don't have the ability to defend yourself because you don't know what you're up against.
Yeah.
That, to me, is what makes a true horror story really like impacting. If you know everything about your antagonist in a horror movie, then you know what to expect.
Exactly.
Definitely.
And it's predictable. And it's the unpredictability of a situation that makes it scary.
Right.
There is a couple things I just wanted to say about horror movies that I think, or they're pitfalls that a lot of horror movies will fall into.
Yeah.
Something I just wanted to say, I know I said it before, but jump scares, I think that people nowadays rely way too heavily on that.
Right.
It's like, yes, maybe one or two in a movie makes it like, oh, you got my heart racing.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's not what I want to see in a horror movie. I want something that sticks with me for longer than 30 seconds.
Yeah, new ideas.
Yeah. And then another thing, which I think became more apparent after the Saw movies, not that the Saw movies are bad, but
Well, the newer ones are, but
but like they started out really good.
Yeah.
But I think that this is what brought upon gore being a main horror aspect.
I think it started off, there was like gore in like the 80s, but I
Yeah.
think it died out for a little bit and then it came back.
Yeah, and this is like way more realistic.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like 80s stuff is like, yeah, buckets of blood.
Right.
But like, you know, it's probably literally a bucket poured on someone. Like, this is something that is way beyond anything from the 80s. This is as if you were in the situation and somebody just cut their foot off.
Right.
Yeah, that's like
And like cut their eye out or something like that.
Yeah.
And gore, I think, can be done really well. Again, look at the Saw series, the ones
Early.
that are good.
Yeah.
But I mean, there are just some movies where the only reason for them is now just like the only
make you
reason that they're
cringe and
scary.
make you,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
Be uncomfortable with gore. And it's like, that's a way of making a horror movie. I just think that that's, if you overuse that, or like that's the only way that you're making your thing scary, it's not actually fulfilling its like potential.
Yeah, and to go along with like jump scares, I think when they put in like every 5 minutes the music rising and doing that, oh my gosh, I hate that so much because that really gets me up. Like the hairs on the back of my neck, like they just stick up at that noise, and I hate it.
Yeah, but those are, and I'm sure that there are a couple more that I'm not really thinking of right
Mhm.
now. But I just think that a lot of times horror movies will fall into the same cliches
Yeah.
over and over again.
Mhm.
Right.
Because when one comes out, it's like really successful, and then they're like, I'm gonna copy that.
Right.
But
So-
yeah, there's still the good ones that are coming out, and every like once in a while, like once a year, you'll get a really good horror movie.
Like-
The Conjuring series.
Yeah.
is
I didn't see
apparent. I haven't seen them, but it is renowned as one of the greatest horror series.
I heard Get Out was really good.
Get Out was
that was
fantastic.
amazing.
and-
Man, I wish I remembered.
Yeah.
And there was that hospital one that came out last year as well. I can't remember the name of it now.
Oh, A Cure for Wellness.
Yes.
Yes.
Apparently that was really creepy and eerie. So I don't know.
Yeah. But unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today.
Right. So let us know if you agree or disagree with any of the opinions we have.
What you like about horror movies. Maybe
What you think makes a good horror movie.
Exactly.
If we're being too hard on horror movies and any horror movies you
And
like.
definitely, bring up some of your favorite horror movies and maybe give us one or a couple to watch.
Yeah, I was
and
gonna say
we could like do a little movie review on them for you. It could be a cool thing.
Yeah, and I think that that's a good point that we haven't brought up before is we love watching movies. So if you hear that we haven't, or if you think we haven't seen a movie or have suggestions, please tell us because we love watching them.
Yeah, we really do. And another thing that maybe by the time this episode is out, you guys may have heard of, but as of right now, we are just making these social media pages for us. So
Mhm.
Instagram and Facebook, we are coming out with this night we are recording, which
Yeah.
is Tuesday, October 17th.
Woohoo!
But hopefully you guys would have already heard that from us
Yeah.
in person or something like that.
Or I don't know, from our other social media, like
Yeah,
our personal
our
ones.
personal.
But again, just to lay them out there, Twitter is Broadcast Bros 3.
Mhm.
That's our Twitter handle.
Our
and
Instagram is Broadcast Brothers 3 because it wasn't used.
and our email is broadcastbrothers3@gmail.com.
And the Facebook is gonna be coming out right after we finish recording this.
And we don't have a name for it yet.
Because we don't
No,
know
we
what
don't.
to take it.
All right. Zoink scoops.
Okay.
Anyway, thanks for listening, guys.
And have a spooky Halloween.
Ooh.
Bye. Also, I want you to cut out my bye at the end because I was just like, I wanted to end on spooky Halloween.
Yeah, I will cut that out. Except
Keep the call.
for I'm going to keep all of this.